Well, welcome everyone. This is class number 5 of Your Best Life, and this is the Mindful Living Workshop. And this is our 5th class tonight, and Tina Porter is our guest teacher tonight. Tina was my yoga teacher teacher. So if you've ever done your yoga teacher training, you know what that's like. You end up having a really deep connection with your teachers. And Tina and I have kept in touch for probably 8 or 9 years now since I did my training at Samadhi Yoga down in Denver. Tina is one of the most real people that I know. She's authentic and fun and lighthearted, but at the same time keeps you on your game and calls you on your stuff. And she's such a good teacher. Tina's an expert at teaching yoga and power yoga. She'll kick your butt, but she'll leave with a big smile on your face. And it's been neat over the years as I've grown to become a teacher myself to see how she's just so broad of a teacher, from the physical to the spiritual, and she helps so much with her annual cleanse. I've done her spring or her cleanse I think twice, 3 times now, and every time what's really good about her teaching style is that you take something new away every time. And then it becomes your lifestyle. Like it's not like you do a workshop with Tina and then you just do it for a little while and forget it. Like it changes your life a little bit at a time. And my life is much improved thanks to Tina. And now she's getting more into teaching and sharing meditation and mindfulness. So I thought she'd be the absolute perfect guest for us because she can help you to learn to calm your mind. But then it's so important what we put in our bodies. It's so deeply connected. And I can't wait to delve into that with Tina in just a minute. But before we do, I just wanted to offer just a short meditation so that we could all just settle in together. And maybe we had a busy day today. It was sunny here in Colorado, 4 feet of snow in Evergreen, and it's all melting off. So you're probably out there playing, maybe feeling that energy. So let's just drop in together. Spine nice and straight, shoulders not too far back, not too far forward. Little space under your armpits. Tuck the chin. You can rest your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Lips slightly parted. You guys know the posture. Maybe start with your face. You're out in the sun today. Just tune right into that feeling of maybe a little bit of warmth still on your face. Feel your butt on the cushion. And just that weight, that gravity. You can gently close your eyes or keep them slightly open. Just look down if you do. 3 to 4 feet in front of you. Let's take a few deep breaths together. Breathe all the way in, expand your shoulders up and out. Feel that nice release on the exhale. Just one more deep, intentional breath. And then just let the breath return to normal. No longer controlling the breath. Your body's here. Now see if you can unite your mind and body by just noticing the breath. Moving in and out of the body. You can notice something about it if you like. Maybe it's warm or cool, long or short. Not trying to change it. Just go ahead and check it out. Let's bring a smile to our face. Just repeat to yourself after me. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be peaceful and at ease. Turn the corners of your lips up a little bit more, wishing to yourself, may I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be peaceful and at ease. Just think of your loved ones. See them in your mind's eye. Repeat to yourself after me. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. And just see them in your mind's eye. They're so happy, content. They don't know why. They just feel good. So feel that in every cell of your body. This is all in your mind, which is where your world really happens anyways. Just feel what it feels like. Loving kindness. And we'll do something a little challenging. Think of someone you have a tough time with. See them sitting there and know that they have the same struggles as you do. They just want to be happy. They don't want to suffer, just like you. And see them there. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. Just allow that feeling to spread throughout your entire body. And allow that gentle smile and that feeling of loving kindness to remain throughout the session tonight with Tina. Mm-hmm. Just a couple more breaths, tuned into the body and the breath. Allow the breath to become a little longer, a little finer, a little cooler. And even in this short time, perhaps there's a little bit of ease or joy. Just allow that to spread throughout your body and mind, even if just a little tiny bit. Just happy to be simple. Let the belly relax. Loosen the jaw a little bit. If there's any tension, just relax your relationship to the tension. Let the tension be. Just relax your relationship to anything that's tight. And in a moment, you'll hear the bell. Just allow the sound of the bell to be heard all the way to the end. And that may end our formal practice, but let's allow us to segue nicely into our life practice that happens 24/7. So still mindful of your feet and your body and your breath. As you open your eyes, mindful of seeing, seeing. Mindful of hearing, hearing. And we can just place our hands on Anjali Mudra in front of our chest, gently bow forward, and just any benefit that we feel from that practice, may it help all beings, ourself included. And I'm so happy that we have some time with Tina Porter. We have about 45 minutes with Tina, and I can't wait for you guys to learn from her. Tina, let's leave about 10 minutes at the end for some questions and answers, I would think. And you just take it away, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. I have to address my cell phone because I was digging during the meditation, and I'm going to turn it on silent right now. And also, I'd like to take a moment of silence after singing a very important chant. You ready? You ready for the chant?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay. I only want to see you laughing in the purple rain. Purple rain. A moment of silence for Prince. Is that wrong?
You brought a lot of joy to the world.
Really? I was wearing a t-shirt the other day that said, "See the spirit, ignore the story." Think about that. See the spirit, ignore the story. When so many times when we meet somebody, there's judgment, there's criticism, just maybe from the way they look, to the way that they feel, you know, or maybe things that we've heard, the impressions that have been made of these people, and our image of them is clouded for whatever reason, because we're not an open, clear glass of water and accepting their spirit and seeing their spirit instead of listening to the story. So that's so much of what my practice has done for me, is allowed me to be able to see people for who they are. But it doesn't just work that way, because we have to see ourselves first. And when we experience what's called a sadhana, which is a spiritual practice, when you set yourself on this path of self-development, you begin to peel some layers away. I'm sure that you've probably heard that before, peeling layers away of inauthenticity and allowing what truly what you truly stand for to radiate. But what we truly stand for and who we truly are morphs as we get older. And the more responsibilities that come our way and the more situations that are tossed our way, curveballs unexpectedly, things that happen in our lives create the person that we are today because of the way we react to them all. And so much of our yoga practice and our mindfulness practice is being able to hear these things, see these things, recognize them first, and then to pause. And I love that Eric said, let's take some time to drop in. because that is absolutely what I refer to in the beginning of all of our classes, and even in my morning, every single morning of my life. I take a moment to drop in before proceeding. When we take time to drop in, we're then able to respond to whatever the situation is, what's just been said, what we've just heard, from a more grounded place. And so right now in my personal life, I'm dealing with some serious chaos. It's some stuff is going on with my dad, and my family doesn't know really how to process all of these extreme feelings that we're having. There's fear, there's sadness, there's confusion. So all of these resistances, if you will, are rushing up to the surface. And instead of acknowledging them and allowing them to be, like we do with mindfulness, when we experience discomfort, we recognize it, we acknowledge it, and we know that in time it's going to pass, right? You know the whole theory of impermanence. And so when we can operate from a place of love, we are operating from a place of groundedness and clarity. But when we operate from a place of fear, there's reaction, there's resistance, there's impulsiveness that's hurtful and harmful. Does that make sense? Am I following the right path right now? Or did I just go off on a tangent? Because I can go off on a lot of tangents. I started off with purple rain, right? What is purple rain? That doesn't sound very healthy, does it? Right? So I think I would like to be in purple rain, but I think I'd like to have an umbrella for safety, right? Because it sounds a little toxic. So what kind of purple rain do we subject ourselves to on a daily basis? And no, I did not plan that. But seriously, it is a metaphor. I'm sure it's a metaphor for something completely different than what I'm talking about. But I'm going to use it for toxicity. And so when we are in a toxic relationship or a toxic situation, can we recognize it? When we're on our yoga mats and we're moving through poses and we're in a room with a lot of people, do we have that mentality? Do we try to keep up with everybody else? Do we try to impress the person who brought us here? Do we try this? Do we try to force that? Or are we really connected to our breath and having an experience, a full body-mind experience? There's that connection. When we're in our full body and in our full mind, maybe we could put that umbrella away and let the purple rain fall. And maybe we'll experience trust, openness, acceptance, and love. Maybe we'll see the color for it being beauty rather than scary. All right, ask me another question because I feel like I'm going off on tangents.
Yeah, and this is a new format that I'm trying in this workshop. So we could go more Q&A, or you could just take it away. But why I'm excited to have you on the call is to talk about what I learned from you in the cleanse. I would love to know ways that we can improve our diet so that we can just be more comfortable in our bodies. I mean, when I was eating I remember you helped to get me off of the white, like all the white stuff, the flour and all that, and then all the empty calories, and just got me on lots of healthy organic vegetables. Just the difference that I felt energy-wise. I wasn't falling asleep in my practice anymore, and just how the more you love yourself too, through your practice, the more you want to be kind to yourself, and also I think I remember learning, what to eat, but you're so busy and so crazy a lot of the times that you're not taking good care of yourself. But if we slow down and with our mindfulness practice, I feel like our bodies will tell us what to do if we listen.
Yeah.
So I have a comment too.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
I loved your analogy with the purple rain, because purple, you know, the first thing that you want to do is run from it, but really purple is the color of your crown chakra. So is it so bad, or are you really connecting to something, you know, and allowing it to come through? You know, Prince was interesting because he, I think, was a Seventh-day Adventist or something like that, where he didn't drink and do drugs and stuff. So whatever is going on is without chemical enhancements. And so there's so many different ways to interpret. It's like a painting. So I loved what you said.
What's your name?
Mary.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, what Eric is talking about when it comes to veggies and whole foods really comes from a place of mindfulness. And let me just tell you, so I started this, this program called the Post-Holiday Detox Cleanse. And I started it 11 years ago. And the reason that I started it, I have never been a good dieter. I come from a Jewish family. We've got cellulite on our thighs. My mom stopped wearing shorts when she was 40, and I never understood it, but now I get it because I have it too. And so I come from a family with poor self-image issues, poor self-esteem, body image issues. And I love to eat. I love to eat. I love to chew. So those diets that were like just a shake, here, mix this shake as a food supplement, forget about it, because I love to chew. So, but I did all that. I did, when I was a kid, I did, you know, Dexatrim and Herbalife and all these different diets to try and shrink my size, because I just didn't like the way that I looked, and I certainly didn't feel like I fit in. And slowly, as I grew older, my body image and self-image changed, improved, probably just because I got busy with other things and wasn't so focused on it as I was in high school. But in 2005, I got pregnant with twin girls. And this was my second pregnancy, so my body expanded pretty quickly, pretty early. And so I lost the twins, and I was 17 weeks along. And so 17 weeks with twins on your second pregnancy, your belly is expanded pretty far. And so while this was devastating to me and my husband, or my husband and me, my grandmother would correct me on that, my husband and me, I was left with, and not to sound insensitive to the situation at all, it was horrible. And what I was left with was a bigger, flabby body. And I, like I said, have never been a good dieter. And so this was really hard for me, because what the heck am I going to do with all this extra skin? And I sat a lot trying to figure this out. And when you sit for a reason, it doesn't really work out so well. But when you allow yourself to, like Eric said, again, drop in, all of the thoughts, all of the things that consume us all the issues that consume us begin to fall by the wayside, and utter importance begins to percolate to the top. And so it wasn't about the fat necessarily. And what I came out with was that it wasn't about the fat. It was about the way I felt about myself and how I needed to improve that. And so every single time, I've been practicing yoga for 26 years now, and every single time I am on my yoga mat, no matter what's happening in my life, no matter what size jeans I'm in, no matter what the acne looks like on my face or the hairstyle or whatever, I feel beautiful on my mat, no matter what. And so I sat there with that, and I acknowledged the fact that my yoga practice makes me feel beautiful inside and out. So how could I marry together Mary a diet with yoga. And that's how I came up with this cleanse. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian at all. I'm a person who had low self-esteem because I had extra weight on me. And I'm a yoga practitioner who wanted to do something to better myself. And so I know that I don't have the discipline to do it on my own. I know that I didn't have the strength and the tenacity to do it by myself. And so I designed this program to do. It was at the Cherry Creek Athletic Club is where it debuted. And people signed up for it. And I was surprised that people were signing up for it. And I was a little bit nervous, like, oh my gosh, I have to be held accountable here because I'm the teacher. And there were, I don't know how many, 25 people in this cleanse. People signed up for so many different reasons, and people of all sizes. I remember there being a girl who was this big who signed up. And it was so interesting to me because I'm so opposite of that. I come from, when I hear the word cleanse, I think diet. So all the people who are going to be joining want to lose weight. But that's not what it was about. People wanted to shift their perspective on themselves. People wanted to gain the tools to be able to live a better life and feel more comfortable in their own skin, whatever that meant to them. They were grasping at it. And so when we went through, the first time that we did it, it was a 3-week cleanse. And when I say cleanse, it has kind of a harsh connotation to it, because when people think of the word cleanse, they associate it with like the master cleanse, the cayenne pepper and the lemon juice. And I've never done that before. People love it, but that's not what this is. What this cleanse is a reboot to your system, because you're cutting out the simple, most routine things that we reach for. Dairy, meat, caffeine, sugars, unless they're natural, white flour. Lately, I've included gluten or included that in the cleanse, so taking that out. Alcohol, things that we reach for on a daily basis just out of habit. And so what you're left with, because people are like, oh my gosh, I can't have this, I can't have that, but it's a matter of being able to rewire the way you think about what it is that you're eating. What you get to eat are things that are actually going to feed you. And so when we tie mindfulness into this cleanse, you start to recognize what it is you're truly hungry for. And it might not be that leftover cupcake from your kid's birthday party. It looks really good, but you pause, you drop in, and you realize, what do you need that for? You know? So maybe you can reach for a handful of almonds. Maybe you can pour yourself a green juice. And that sounds so silly to me because I love chocolate. Like, I would love to grab for that cupcake. But I know I love this cleanse. I love this program so much because what I've realized is if I ate that cupcake, it would be nice. But I'm so mindful, I'm so present when I'm eating. I taste things. In fact, I've been nicknamed Sparky a long, long time ago from a friend of mine who lived in LA because I smell my food before I eat it. And I remember being made fun of by my friends in LA. Dogs smell their food when they eat it. So they called me Sparky. Also, when my husband and I were dating, he would go mad when we were sitting and eating a meal together. Because I always have, ever since I was a kid, I eat so slowly. And so one time, I didn't even know that he was doing this, but when we got through with a meal, he went, "Argh!" like that. And I said, "What?" And he said, "I was trying to match you bite for bite that whole time, and it was so frustrating because you eat so slowly." So that's a gift it's innate. It's not intentional, but I taste my food. I chew my food. I taste it. And that's another thing that I've learned through this cleanse even more, to get back to that cupcake. Because before, I would have just eaten it. And there it would sit in my belly, and not only sit in my belly and maybe get added to my ass, but it would mess with my brain. The sugar going into my system would then mess with my mood. I might become a little bit more impatient. I might become a little bit more uptight. And then I might become a little bit more insecure. And so when we become more mindful about the things that we're putting here, we want to realize, A, what are we really hungry for? Because it might not be food at all. It might be we need a freaking hug. We need some support. You know, what are we reaching for? What does it feel like? And how is it really going to feed me? So am I going to get some energy from this? Am I going to get energy that's unnecessary because I'm going to be going to sleep in an hour? How is this going to affect how I wake up tomorrow morning? How is this going to affect my sleep patterns tonight? How is it going to affect my reaction to my children? So it's really interesting when you start to break things down, what we reach for. And it's not, what I talk about during this program, it's not just our cleanse. I mean, it's not just our food. It's what we drink. It's what we listen to. It's what we gossip about or subject ourselves to. It's how we respond to difficulty. So it's allowing somebody an opportunity to pause, to drop in, and to realize what it is that we're saying, doing, smelling, touching, and seeing. Oh, and tasting, of course. So when I talk about this diet, it's so funny to me to think that I'm in this position to talk about on this side of it. But what I've realized through all of these different cleanses that I've done for now 11 years in a row. On our yoga mats, I'm gonna preface this with, on our yoga mats, I talk about how the practice is so not about how it looks. Like, we'll think that we need to look a certain way, even going into a yoga class. People think that they need to have yoga clothes. I have so many friends who don't practice yoga, and they're like, I would love to come to your class, but I'm so not flexible enough. And it's so not about touching your toes. To me, the mental flexibility is so much more important. To me, the transformation is so much more important than the asana that we do on our mats. Sorry?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Where do you teach?
I teach at Endorphin in Park Hill and near City Park. I teach at Karma Yoga on South Pearl. I teach at Core Power in Stapleton. And I teach at the JCC.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And congratulations, because I have a Jewish in my family as well, and it's the first time I heard about a food hangover and being like food comatose from all that heavy Jewish food, you know.
Right. Well, there's that restaurant on Colfax that has an hour to 2 hour wait every time I go, and it's called Snooze. Right?
Yeah. Anyway, you're very engaging, so thank you, and I'm going to mute myself again.
Thank you. You have to mute. Don't mute.
Tina?
Tina?
Hey, Tina?
Yes.
I was wondering, what would you cut in, what would you cut out, and what would you add in for all our senses? So this workshop is about living a mindful life. And when you talk about what foods to put in that make you feel good or don't make you feel so good, can you talk a little bit about like how you would clean up your mental diet maybe? Or because I really wanted to add that into this workshop, is I mean, what are you watching on TV that you're putting into your mind? Because all this stuff affects us deeply. Or what are the toxic relationships you're having? You know, maybe a little less connection with those people while you're trying to calm down. You know, can you speak to that a little bit?
Totally. Yeah, thank you. Extreme measures are never sustainable. And what I love about the cleanse that we do is that we're eating food, and we don't want to be hungry, because when we're hungry, there's no energy and we get hangry, right? And so when we're on the cleanse, yes, we are cutting out major things that we reach for habitually. When we're not on the cleanse, how can we sustain the balance, right? And how can we sustain the ability to feel really good about ourselves and our choices? And when I say extreme measures are never sustainable, it means if that cupcake is on the counter, I keep using cupcake for an example, and cupcakes really aren't my thing. I love chocolate covered almonds. Right before this phone call, whatever you call this, webcast, I was eating gelato out of the container. And it's raspberry with dark chocolate pieces. And the reason that I'm telling you that is because it tasted so good. And I didn't need a whole mug full. My mom started doing mugs, coffee mugs full of ice cream. We were never bowl. We weren't a bowl family. We were coffee mugs. And so I would always jam as much ice cream in there as possible and then make it look really light on top, like there was almost nothing in there. I was a liar. And how did that show up in my life? It showed up in lots of negative ways. And so I keep going back to the cupcake, but the gelato. I'm going to tell you that I was out and about today, and I was prepared. I am always prepared now because of my cleanse program. I am prepared with food, and I will reach for things that will feed me, because I know myself well enough to know that if I'm not reaching for things that are going to feed me in that moment, it's just going to backfire. And backfire meaning really bad gas. I'm kidding. But for some of us, maybe that's the case. But really, energetically and personally. So why did I reach for that gelato at 4:30 today? Because I wanted to. I'm not going to deprive myself of something that I'm craving in that moment, but I'm going to be mindful as to the amount that I'm taking in. And once I'm eating and I'm no longer tasting it, I need to stop. And that when you eat a bowl of ice cream or a dessert or a hamburger or pizza or whatever it is that you're chewing on, are you really tasting it? Are you really enjoying it? Are you smelling it? Are you feeling? Are you experiencing the flavors? And that might sound so silly to you, but when you bring mindfulness into the way you chew, at the rate that you chew, at when you're swallowing, is the next forkful already loaded, or can you actually keep your fork on your plate while you're chewing and enjoying a bite? That's a test for a lot of people. And that's natural for me, so I feel really lucky in that aspect. But I love to drink alcohol. I'm not an alcoholic by any means, and I don't drink to get drunk. But I love to have a glass of wine. I love to sip rum. I'll even love to sip vodka. It depends on the situation, right? But can I control the amount of intake? Absolutely. And so when we're on our yoga mats, and this is how our yoga practice is integrated into our lives. when we're on our yoga mats and we are connecting our breath with our bodies, and we're moving perhaps at a vigorous rate, perhaps holding a pose a little bit longer than we want to, and our mind might be like, wah, right? Can we, in that moment, instead of going up to that place, can we blow out? And when we blow out, can we then soften into something that might be really hard for us? And so when we take this practice of yoga off the mat and apply it to our worlds, it starts to translate into our relationships with people, with food, with, like Eric said, what we're choosing to watch on TV or read before we go to bed at night. What do we choose to wake up to in the morning? Is it a loud buzz? Is it gentle sounds? Is it news that's going to rattle the nervous system? I mean, mindfulness is such a broad subject, but I'm so grateful to have ever tapped into it because it has absolutely changed who I am at the root. At a molecular level, it has shifted my life, and I'm so grateful for that. Just recently, I told you in the very beginning of this call that there's a lot of chaos in my life right now. My dad is in a situation that he was recently diagnosed with dementia. And it's very early onset to the point where when people sit and talk to him, he's just dad, right? It's not showing up so much. And he unfortunately broke his leg a few months ago. And because he broke his leg, he can no longer be cared for at home by my stepmom. And so he's had to move into a home. And this has been really heartbreaking for all of us. And it's been a huge transition for everybody. And there's been a lot of fighting. There have been secrets. There has been manipulation. There has been deceit. There has been screaming fights. There have been people hanging up on each other. There have been emails shot back and forth that are harsh. And we were all addressed recently by a member of our family. And the letter was so long that it was in a Word document, 4 pages. Maybe it wasn't 4 pages, but it felt like it was. It was long. And as I sat there and read this document, I felt my shoulders start to tense up. I felt my jaw tighten. My eyes were looking at this document like this, so my eyes bugging out of the head. My breath was short. My throat was tight. And man, did I hit reply all and started banging out this reply to everybody. Bullet points, bold letters, underlines, exclamation mark, and I think I went so far as to highlight some words and put them in red. And as I moved that mouse with the cursor, moving the cursor over to that hit send, right when I lifted my finger up, I paused. I put my hand down in my lap. I closed my eyes. I took a giant breath in and blew out. And then I did another one, but this one had to be more grounded. And I allowed my eyes to close, and I allowed myself to really, truly drop in. And I looked up, I looked up and started looking at my letter and just seeing the impact that it would have had, the domino effect that it would have created. I hit butterfly A, highlighted every word, and hit delete. And sat there for a moment and questioned that, like, oh, do I not have the guts, the confidence? What did I need to be able to send that? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it took guts and confidence to delete it. And instead, I hit reply all, and I just wrote, whatever I can do to bring peace to Dad, I am here. Whatever I can do to bring peace to you, I am here. Love, Tina. And that's what I sent.
That's beautiful. I just, take a breath. That's so beautiful. And that's what the pause is all about. And really, that's why I'm in this group, is to continue to pause. And I after rearing children and all, I think you do learn to pause because you just have to. It's how you assimilate and take in everything, and to think about what effect what you're saying has on others. And sometimes it's necessary. But sometimes people already know who they are, and what you're saying isn't going to change them. And thank you for sharing that, and cyber hugs to you. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the thought of pausing, and for the right reasons.
Right. And so much of what I've learned on my mat for 26 years is that, no, you're right. We can't change anybody. We can't change their actions, their behavior, their harmful words. But what we learn on our yoga mats, what we can change is that we can change the way that we react to it. And so that reaction is impulsive and it's emotional. And when we take that time to pause and drop in, we respond. We're grounded. We're clear. I'm not saying that we're not emotional. I'm not saying that we don't get into loud arguments. But there's resolution. That's the tapas, right? The tapas, the be able to move through the fire to get to the other side, to be able to break through to transformation. And whether anybody else is with you on that transformation, that's on them. But if you can experience your own peace, awesome. You've heard Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May all beings in this universe be peaceful. They're not. They're not. There's so much chaos. There's a political circus happening right now. There's turmoil all over the world. But the next part of that, Sukhino Bhavantu, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, may my actions and my behavior contribute to peace.
And what language is that?
It's Sanskrit.
Is it?
Yeah. But may my actions and my behavior contribute to peace. It can't always just be external peace. We have to experience that internal peace first. It's like that whole thing when you're on the airplane, you put the mask on yourself before you help anybody else, right? And some people might think of that as being really selfish. It's the most selfless thing that you can do. Taking time to sit, taking time to practice yoga, taking time to breathe mindfully. That's doing work for your family, your friends, your community, and our world. And so for you to be taking time to do this training for yourself, I so bow to you. Thank you. I'm actually about to embark on my own training. I'm so excited that I get to be a student for the first time in a really, an official student. I get to go to LA, and I'm going to be taking a 6-week, 300-hour training. That's kind of my yoga grad school, if you will. But I'll be learning the neuroscience behind breath work and meditation. And my intention for this training is to come back and not only share it with my yoga students, but also to develop a breath therapy program to be able to offer to anybody who suffers from chronic and acute pain, asthma, anxiety, depression, disconnected, unhealthy relationships, anything that we suffer from, and the list goes on and on. But to experience, to acknowledge the fact that we have these tools, right here in our own bodies, that we don't have to reach for a pill, that we don't have to ask everybody in the world for their advice, but to actually take the time to drop in. And when we experience this dropping in on such a deep level, and like I said, all the other things that consume us fall by the wayside, and the importance, everything that's relevant, necessary, percolates to the top, that's when we're tapping into creative wisdom.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't want to keep interrupting you, but you're provocative. Is it Kundalini yoga then? Yeah. The breathing? Is that what you're going to do?
No, not at all. In fact, I'm kind of a melting pot when it comes to yoga, because I've practiced Kundalini, Ashtanga, Iyengar, Jivamukti. I think that people consider me a power yoga teacher, but it's interesting the connotation that power has in Denver as opposed to what it had in LA, where I used to live and teach. And power yoga to me is meditation and movement. And so I have a very strong emphasis on the breath. I would much rather people sit on their butts and learn how to breathe mindfully than try to do these poses aesthetically pretty, which is what comes into the studio a lot, because there's mirrors in some of the studios and other people in the studios. And so we start to fall back into old habits of fearing what it looks like, as opposed to how it feels. And so when we, thank you, I love you. Have fun. My husband's going to band practice. And excuse me, my kitty cat wants to come in. Oh, you missed her. Penny Lane is her name. But, I don't know what else to say. There's nothing more that I believe in this practice that we do. There's nothing more that I believe in. And when we can shift from our problem-solving mind to just being and allowing the problems to heal themselves, we stop pushing. And I was talking to my class about this the other day because of the situation that I'm experiencing with my family. It's really, I've had some pretty profound times on my mat in the last week. And one of the things that I experienced on my mat that I had never really felt before was when I was standing in Tadasana, mountain pose, and moving into a balance, right? Lifting a leg up, whatever the balance was, I don't remember. At first, I was rigid. My movements were rigid. Even though my breath was very fluid, my movements were rigid because I was trying to force the balance. I was trying to force the groundedness. And what I loved about that practice that I experienced the other day, was that I allowed the sway. I allowed for there to be a little bit of the fear and a little bit of the doubt. And as I breathed through it, I was still up in a balancing position, but I wasn't still. And when we are still and when we are resistant and we push, it's only harmful unto ourselves. But when we can allow to be pushed a little bit this way, and when we can be pushed a little bit that way, we can, hopefully, through our yoga practice, understand that we are already so deeply grounded that we will come back to center, no matter what. So staying true to yourself, staying grounded, rooted, and always allowing yourself to be reassured that all tough things will pass in time.
Tina.
Yes.
I appreciate your time. We have about 5 minutes left on the call. And something I wanted to ask was, what are 3 things from all your life experience, not just from teaching, but just everything that's happened in your life, what are 3 things that we can do today that are actionable kind of things that can really help us to live lives of meaning and purpose and to bring more peace and ease and thriving into our lives? What are those 3 things that come to mind?
Love your pets. This is Penny. No, it's interesting because I wrote down a couple of things before we started this. And what I wrote down were 3 things, coincidentally. And I wrote down drop in, breathe, and respond. But when it comes to 3 things that we want to, what did you say, to improve our life? To live a healthier life?
Live lives of meaning, our best life possible.
So my 3 things are changing now. And I'm going to write them down first. Patience is the first word that comes to mind. Patience. Respect is another. And contentment. Santosha. I was having a conversation with my husband the other day about the definition of contentment. And I feel that the definition of contentment is different than happiness. I think that I am really happy in my life. I'm really happy. I'm very blessed and I'm really happy. But I suffer from something called FOMO, which I never even knew that there was an acronym for it, but fear of missing out. And I'm a product of a divorced family, like, probably 3/4 of our nation. But when my parents divorced, I was moved away from my sisters, all 3 of them. And so I always missed out. I always felt like I was missing out on what they were doing in their life. And I was always jealous of their time that they got to spend together. And so even now as an adult, I find myself experiencing that same fear of missing out when it comes to friends, when it comes to yoga events, when it comes to vacations that other people are taking. And so what I work on to prevent myself from going there in my head and in my heart is contentment. And what contentment is, different than happiness to me, it's a deep inner peace. And when we can tap into that deep inner peace, we become more creative, more loving, more lovable. And under the umbrella of contentment, we become more respectful, we become more patient and calm. And I think our whole world could use a little bit more of all of that. So if you want to take that away, patience, respect, and contentment.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tina. And now, if people want to get to know you better, where can they find you online, or are there any workshops coming up or where they could work with you?
Yeah, my website is tina-yoga.com. And you can click on the home page to add yourself to my mailing list. And I don't email a lot, but when I do, I've got a lot of different yoga events going on, and I just don't like to talk too much after class. And so I'll send these newsletters out with the links to different yoga events. And one of the things that I have coming up is April 30th, which is a Saturday, and May 7th, which is a Saturday. We are doing a week-long, so it's a mini spring cleanse. And so it is the post-holiday mindful cleanse, but for the first time ever, I'm offering a mini reboot for the springtime. And that's going to be at Endorphin. And so if you are interested in signing up for that, you can email me directly. My email is on my website. And And I can send you the link for the intensive, for the workshop. Either that or you go to myendorphin.com, right? I mean, there's all these different ways to get to me. Tina-yoga.com.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything. And really, mostly, thank you for practicing.
Great.
Om Namo Gurude Namo. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Tina. And we'll see everyone in class this Sunday. And yeah, have a great night, everyone.
That was fabulous.
Good.
Thank you, Mary. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.